normally, there's some rules around, and I've read all the details, that the board itself can bring it up. It doesn't, you know, if you have 2 or 3 members that want it on the agenda, they can put it on the agenda.
And that's why we should revoke that one, because that's gonna help you in that case.
But I think.
As long as you got those 2 commissioners with you, you can bring that motion forward yourself without having to go through the committee.
Well, I'm thinking, here, I guess I'm looking at Zach's option here, and I'm saying, if he makes the motion and the majority votes to send it to committee, then the committee shouldn't be able to remove it, because the majority of the board has asked that be placed and vetted out through that committee.
So then we're gonna open them, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So then you're stating, so if I make a motion and then the board is voting to send it back to committee.
Send it to committee.
So before the board can make that motion, we're gonna vet that issue.
Yeah.
So why don't we just vet it in public air right there?
Only reason I'm thinking is because sometimes we would have to have the finance director go through and
Then
make
it
sure
gets
that that's,
tabled.
you know.
Then it would get tabled.
Wouldn't it be easier just to eliminate the 3-commissioner rule at this point and move forward with maybe the committee? I mean, that's always a viable option, what he's saying, and I agree. But I also agree with what Susie's saying. There's 2 arguments here, and they're both going to the same direction. How do you answer this? Do we send everything to committee? Well, it could have a chance to die. That's bad.
Sometimes.
Or how do we not die in committee? If it's a valid, needable thing we have to do.
I think if it's a valid, needable thing, it won't die in committee.
Well,
I think that if the rule were drafted such that it would be referred to committee for a recommendation by a certain date, like you certainly have that option, right? So if you say, well, we're gonna recommend it to Ways and Means and want a recommendation back to the full board by this date, whatever that date is. That sort of forces
So
the
what-
issue with Ways and Means to get a recommendation back to the full board by that date.
And I make a motion to X. Commissioner Stolinek says I make a recommendation, we send that to my Ways and Means. Do we take a vote at that time?
What on the Ways and
On, didn't send that
Oh,
motion to Ways and, on
Yeah.
that motion. So we're taking a vote then and there to send it to Ways and Means.
I think so.
Now, to Charles' point, Ways and Means could kill it,
Or they could vote it down.
or they could vote it down.
The chair doesn't have that right because it would come in front for committees of the whole. So we.
So it would fall. then it-
Unless I kept it
but
off
the
the
chair of
agenda.
Ways
That's what
and
we're
Means-
saying. You could keep it off the agenda.
You could kill it off the agenda as chair, so the viable motion that he's making could die.
I've never done that. but
You've
yes.
never done it. What
But-
about,
but-
what about down the road?
But it could happen.
But unless you do what Mike says, you put a date on there at the full board saying this has to come back through Ways and Means, it has to be back in front of the board by 30
That's the way
days.
to do that.
Could
But
we
they
do a
could
30
recommend that
day?
it not be.
Yeah.
That committee.
I think
Yeah,
a 30
maybe.
day.
Ways and
Yeah,
Means.
yeah.
So I think the
It's
30
about
day
a
thing
whole.
is, I think
Oh, true.
30 days, Charles, Bob, I'm good with 30 days.
Well,
Zach.
no, I think it should, I guess I want to say it should come back through at the next Ways and Means.
Well, that'd be
Committee.
30 days.
No, 2
No,
weeks.
that's
That's
2
2
weeks.
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. So
If
you're
it's Ways
saying
and
even
Means.
quicker.
No, I'm saying at the next meeting of that committee, it should be back before us.
So at full board
Ways and
today,
Means is every 2 weeks, but some of them are not.
so at full board today, Zach makes a motion to make the boardroom blue. So within the next full board, we will
I'm gonna
decide.
We're gonna fight.
So I'm just using an excuse.
Yeah,
I like blue.
I'm gonna go for
Good
things.
example.
So what you're saying,
Yes.
at the next full board, a response will be given.
Yes, that
One-
Is that- am I
whichever
getting
committee,
this right?
whichever
Mike?
committee
Yeah.
that goes back to has got to have it back on the board to the.
So, okay.
If we vote to send it to committee, we don't vote to have it die in committee. We vote to have them vet it out, do all the things that it's supposed to have done to it before it comes back to us to vote.
So we will put in this language that a
Does that make
response will
sense?
come back
I
to the
get what
next
you're saying,
committee.
but I mean.
So what the board is in essence saying, sorry, Charles, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm going back to what Ken said. I mean, if that was the case, then the House of Representatives wouldn't be sending anything to the Senate because the Senate could kill it again. So even if you send it back to the chair, the possibility is that it could get killed.
You're right,
Because
if it
that's the
comes
power
back.
of the chair, all right? So we're not changing the design and the order of how chairs work, so you still have that option. That's why I think that.
You're
leaving
saying if
this
it's
rule in
4 to
here
4
is
when it comes to
important.
me, I could kill it.
What rule
Yeah.
exactly, Charles? Leaving it free?
The commission rule, because this was totally different. This wasn't about that.
You're right, though.
What we're talking about is how properly to do order a business. And this was one to stop from having last minute motions come
I know what
without
you're
any
talking
real
about.
thought or discussion,
Mhm.
you know, be quickly voted through.
That's it.
And I believe that was the purpose of this motion. And that's the only reason it was put in. It wasn't to stop things, but it was just to slow the process down, so we could all have, you know, because if it's a big issue, I don't think we should be flying through it. And I remember many times bringing things to the board, and I've had commissioners over the years saying, you know, we don't like this last minute stuff.
Right.
And over time, I agree with them, because I realized something coming at you that's big at the last minute,
Mhm.
you know, you need to be way out things, you know, you need to understand what your people you're representing feel about these things too. So, you know, without having that opportunity, we're just doing things on the fly, and we need to make sure that we're doing things in that proper order too. So that, I think they're two different distinct things, but we're also talking about trying to do things in order. So I agree with the committees, but I also agree with keeping this rule.
2/3, Bob,
Okay,
2/3.
do we have a
No.
do we have a consensus on this?
No.
No, because
Make what?
what's gonna happen, so we have a contentious issue that the board doesn't particularly wanna hear. So now you're gonna hear it in the board meeting. If I make a motion, that a motion goes back to Ways and Means. So you're gonna hear about it, then you're gonna vote about sending it to committee, so you're gonna hear all the debate. Then we're gonna send it to committee, and then people are gonna engage, and we're gonna hear about it in committee, and then we're gonna bring it back to the board and hear about it all again. And if this is an active issue that the public wants to come and speak on, we're gonna hear this issue from the public over and over. Do we really wanna hear the same issue presented 3 times in front of the board? And we're taking a chance that the board chair can kill it in the middle of all of this, or the committee chair kills it in the middle.
Or it could be voted down.
And that's fine if the issues get voted down by the board, but
But the
they
board
could.
chair would be, I mean, if I couldn't kill it myself unless I voted last and voted no. I mean, that would be the only way I could kill it. I couldn't pull it up in
But
agenda.
the chair of the committee
The
could.
chair of the committee could.
That would be in a committee
So, and
meeting.
this has actually happened in our, and I'm not gonna get into the, but there was a motion presented to a committee chair that wasn't recognized in our own board. And that motion never got brought forward to the committee. So that's actually happened in our board in this 6 months I've been here.
You know, both points are so valid, Charles and Zach, so why don't we ask Mike to chime in? I mean, you're the guy we're gonna look at and we say what we do wrong or right.
Well, look, my understanding of the rule, to Commissioner Nash's point, was to give the board more opportunity to debate the issues. You can do that either by referring it to committee, or at a minimum, we need to clear this rule up, right? Because it wasn't clear to me what was required, because if you were gonna change the rule, it could only mean the motion maker plus 2, meaning 3 commissioners would have to support it. Because otherwise, there was no need to change it, right?
Right.
Because you always have the motion maker and support in
Right.
order to move that. So at a minimum, you have to address the rule as it is to make sure that it's clear to everybody about what you're requiring. If you want to make it the person or the commissioner making the motion plus 2, that would require 3 people in support in order to discuss that. But the issue, I think, for the commission goes a little further than that is, will you have adequate time at that board of commissioners, that full board meeting, to address whatever might come up during that meeting? I'm okay with it either way, as long as it's clear to everybody what it means.
Yeah, I think you brought up that, I think it's important for us to address our constituencies and the various groups that might have an interest in whatever the issue is. So whatever allows that, I think is.
So what are you saying, Marcia? You're in favor of the 3-person rule?
No, I think that I'm in favor of it going to committee, being referred to committee to be
I would
You know,
be in
so we
favor
have
of
a- we have
committee, too,
time
if
to-
we put the
to
timeline
connect
in
with
it.
those.
That timeline's the key, I think, on going to committee, and I am afraid of chairman of committees killing things.
Well, a timeline,
They may, but that's kind of a government process. They may
That's true.
kill it, they may vote it down, you know, it happens.
So could we
at
have
all
them come
levels.
back and at least report that the motion to the commissioner in respect for the, or I'm just,
But let me-
I hate to
let me-
point
let
at
me
Zach, but that's
interject
what I'm doing, because
something
he's
here.
next to me.
And the reason why I really support this rule is because I think what the rule is trying to say is, let's not do things in secret, let's do them in the open. So talk to your commissioners and get the support on the issue, instead of bringing something in, sliding it in, and then just getting two guys to jump in with you and trying to run something through the board. To me, that's not really being transparent, and it's kind of a tricky political way to do things.
No,
And
we're
we're
talking-
trying to, you put this rule in to get away from that. Let's just make sure we got everything on the table and everybody understands what's coming forward. Because if I get slammed with something, and I don't know what it could be, and it's last minute and I'm not ready for it, I may not be ready to vote for that. I may need to have more discussion and talk to my constituents, or, you know, think about it a little bit more than just us yelling across the board at the last minute. And that's what I think this rule was, to try to do things more open
The three
and
commissioner
transparent,
rule.
instead of just, you know, ramming
Right, the
stuff
three
through.
commissioner rule. And actually, at board comment, Ken, and if I'm wrong, we brought this up so that the senior commissioner, or hopefully a commissioner that would know, we would not present to the board something we could not do. If something came in front of us that we don't have the power to do, that would avoid this. Because if I made a motion and went to Ken and say, Susie, and Susie says, oh, we can't do that, that's illegal, that would avoid that.
So this three commissioner rule, I actually reached out to MAC about it. They don't know of any other county that does this. They've never heard of it before. So the way Robert's Rules of Order is set up, there's nothing in there. Now, that's going to be addressed later, but they don't know of any other county that has a rule like this. And the way the rule states right now is exactly what we have. It's the commissioner making a motion, the support, it's two commissioners, and somehow this got interpreted to mean three. I don't even see that as I read it right now. It still doesn't state three.
Supported by two commissioners would mean three.
Yeah, that's why
it's
we've been
made by
calling
one
it the
and
three.
supported by two.
All right, so we're gonna be the only county in Michigan, according to MAC, to adopt a rule like this. Is that?
Somebody's gotta start somewhere.
Well,
I mean, I don't care if we get rid of this or not, but I'm not against being the only one that has something, if we think it's a valid.
And also what this does, it forces me to go around and have private meetings with commissioners, is what the Open Meeting Act is trying to prohibit. They want this conversation out in the public, and they don't want all this collusion behind the scenes to be taking place. I shouldn't have to go and hit every commissioner for support till I can come up with my three to get this in front of the public. This issue is part of the opens meeting. All this debate is supposed to happen in the public forum. And this eliminates this. I have to go around and hunt and pick or hand select a little core group to support this issue before the public even hears about it in open debate.
It's not uncommon for a commissioner to talk to another commissioner about, think about this, would you support this, or, you know, but we can't, I mean, you can't talk to all of us at one time, you know, but you can talk to an individual commissioner and see if you have enough support to get it through.
Right, and it's already has to happen with the second. You've got to do that to get a second.
Right.
But now you're saying that, so you're gonna have to, so if I go to you for support and you say, no, I don't think so, then I go to Marcia, yes, and I go to Bob, no, then I gotta go to Charles, yeah, maybe. So now I'm forced into having all these meetings, and I don't care about the meetings, but all this debate is what's supposed to happen in the public forum.
If I can speak just a moment.
Please.
All of our committees are committees of the whole. They are all open meetings. So any discussion at a committee meeting is also the same rules as the full board. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to say, refer it to a committee. That's fine, that's all of us in there, and it's an open meeting.
As long as it doesn't go back to the board chair to squash it, so it never gets presented in the committee.
Well, there again, the committee itself can keep it.
And the board chair doesn't sit on all.
I'm sorry, not the board chair, the committee chair or the vice chair can kill it in that meeting, and it will never get presented to the committee.
So, could we, and I'm already throwing this out, could we eliminate the, we're gonna call it the 3-commissioner rule, and revisit it at our next board work session for the rules committee? I mean, that's what, 6 months out or something? I'm just throwing this out.
This meeting, it's almost.
Yeah, we've got 6 minutes.
We're gonna have to do this, we're gonna have to finish. this.
That's why I'm saying, could we
We can just
take
stop
it
here
off?
and go,
Right now, it's gonna be
we
stuck in
reschedule for
there.
another meeting.
Yeah, we need it.
Finish
So,
it.
does
Well,
this,
can I just address one issue or one piece of it? The committees, so we've got human services, there are 2 of us on that one. Transportation, there are 2 people. I mean, there's some that are committees of the whole, like,
Well,
of
they're
us
all
are
committees of the whole.
Those are just
All
the
of
chair
us.
people.
Those are just the chair.
oh, those
people.
are
All
just
of
the
them.
chair, okay.
Yeah, we're all
Okay,
committees
yeah,
of the
you're
whole.
right, you're right, okay.
But to
I was
get
looking at
to
the
the
wrong list.
committee, it's gotta go through the agenda review, is what they're saying, and I understand that.
I would suspect that if the issue were viable, it would come forward.
I would
You
think
can-
so,
you
too.
can- You can force it out of committee.
Yeah.
I think if it's a viable committee, and you talk to your commissioners beforehand, you can move it at a board meeting. Talking to people early and get a couple commissioners.
so we gotta give Mike direction on this 3-person.
It was just, I think, trying
It
to
was
make sure
3
that.
people.
It's 3 people,
We're all
so are we
informed, that's
staying
all.
with that for now? I guess that's what I'm
Yes,
trying
we're
to
staying with
figure
that for
out.
now, because that was what the motion was.
Okay.
And we did vote.
It was the maker.
We did vote on it.
That's in place.
That is in place.
Okay.
No.
I'll certainly take the comments here and see if I can propose some language with Mark that works on this issue. I mean, it seems to me that you want to have vigorous debate on important topics that
Yes.
you might not be able to get in if you have a motion support and then expected to vote at the same meeting.
And timely awareness. Yeah, I think that's the biggest.
Time.
Timely awareness.
Right, right.
That's why I kind of like for it to go back to
Going back to
committee.
committee, except it doesn't, I think it needs to appear on the agenda.
I do too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
So that's our
it,
solution.
Committee
that's what I
chair
think,
cannot kill it.
I think it's, when we
eliminate-
refer it to committee, we intend for it to come back.
So let's eliminate the
Or call for
3-person
the
rule and make sure it gets on the agenda.
Okay.
If we do it that way, it's guaranteed.
We got people.
Next time.
Right at the 4th floor, everybody.
Um,
We're all gonna fit in the same elevator.
I can tell you we're not.